telecoms infrastructure throughout the UK and what we can learn from continental Europe. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. First of all, in my name and on behalf of cellnex Telecom, thank you for the opportunity. Probably you all know who cellnex Telecom is so far, but maybe for those not being familiar with our group, in less than 1 minute, who is cellnex Telecom? We are the largest independent telecom infrastructure provider in Europe. We are present in 8 countries. We were born, obviously, in Spain, but we also operate in sites in Italy, the Netherlands, Switzerland, United Kingdom, France, Portugal, and Ireland. We manage more than 61,000 sites in these 8 countries. Of course, towers, rooftops, you can imagine all kinds of telecom assets. Also a very important presence in urban environments for the deployment of small cells. These 61,000 assets is a combination of existing sites and important build-to-suit programs with the MNOs. That means we are building for them more than 9,000 sites currently for the coming 4 to 5 years. Of course, strongly connected with the network densification and the 5G rollout, but also in rural areas. And we are also very, let's say, a very strong partner for collaboration with the MNOs in terms like indoor coverage. We are providing coverage in undergrounds, in the shopping malls, stadia, etc. So, I mean, we are the sort of company working mainly with the MNOs, but also with corporations and public bodies quite often. And our presence here is surely connected with our last milestone in the UK, which was, probably you all know, the acquisition of the telecom business from Arqiva. Okay, so now, after the CMA clearance this year, we have integrated more than 8,000 sites in the UK. We are also welcoming more than 250 new colleagues, and we have become as well the largest independent operator in the UK. From this point of view, I would like to share with you our views about the shared rural network, which is, in our view, a very innovative and brilliant program. I would like to maybe to call your attention about some differences with similar programs in other countries and our vision as an infrastructure company. Okay, let me. Okay, now in the presenter. Okay. I'm trying to go towards my next slide.
If you go in the toolbar and then the arrow pointing down on the left of the screen.
On the left screen.
I can move one if you want. If you just say next slide, please, when you want to move one.
Perfect, and here. Okay, so in this first slide, you're seeing what we call the eternal problem. I mean, which is once the network deployment of a new technology, 3G, 4G, etc., is mature, there is always a problem, normally involving rural areas, which is the ratio between population being covered and geographical coverage. Okay. Of course, this is strongly dependent on the geographical conditions of the country. Here we are representing the 8 countries in which we are present. Probably you can't compare the United Kingdom with Netherlands and Switzerland in terms of dimension, in terms of concentration or of the population, or this population being spread throughout the territory. But it's true that the United Kingdom is surely the most delayed country in terms of geographical coverage, and hopefully the shared rural network program will solve this problem in the next years. When the countries, the government, and the MNOs try to solve this problem about rural coverage, there are some elements very important to be taken into account, and Warren has mentioned a couple of them, which is first What's the mechanism for helping the MNOs to increase this coverage, direct funding or other scenarios? Second, will the MNOs be invited to roll out physical networks? That means 4 operators with 4 existing networks throughout the country, or maybe RAN sharing schemes. Third, what do we want to cover? Only premises, villages, etc., or do we want to cover roads and railways? And for fourth, and probably very important, Warren also mentioned it, which is the fiber. I mean, we are now speaking about 4G deployments, but probably in the future other technologies will come, and these sites we are creating now should become small hubs of the telecom activity in those areas. So having fiber is probably a must. Other countries like Spain or Netherlands, Switzerland, with a very good ratio of geographical coverage, are now more focused on backbone and broadband. That means the government is inviting the MNOs to increase the fiber penetration, and even if the mobile coverage is considered as well, of course, a potential tool for increasing broadband in rural areas, most of the public thoughts are focused on fiber installation. Okay, in terms of plans for radio coverage, we are here showing some differences among 3 cases where we know very well. We are not working in Germany yet, okay, but we know very well how the situation is there. Probably we see differences here in terms of how ambitious the rural plans are. And you can see that now in the UK we are defining a combined effect of all the MNOs reaching 95% of the territory by 2026. France and Germany are aiming at 100%. And of course, this means a huge difference of sites to be built. Please pay attention to the French case. The initial discussions with the MNOs and the government spoke about 4,000 new sites per MNO, and additionally 2,000 more sites in RAN sharing. Okay, now after the combination of the network coverage and the shared radio planning, probably the landing situation will be circa 10,000 new sites, 10,000. So it's a huge amount of money to be devoted to that. How is it funded? It's indirectly funded. What the government and the MNOs have agreed is if the MNOs stick to this plan and they increase the rural coverage in 4G, they will have automatic renewal of the spectrum allocations. So this is money, it's funded, but indirectly. Okay. In the case of the UK, there is a couple of things which are important in our view. First, there's no target in terms of railway, and this is shocking us because probably the UK is the country in which railway is more important in terms of daily commuting for workers. And from cellnex, we are strongly approaching MNOs and governments trying to solve this railway coverage problem in all our countries. And in the UK, for example, we have presented our proposal to the London-Brighton tender opened by Network Rail. So we are actively trying to engage with MNOs and governments here. There is another very important point, which is for the total non-spots, I mean, the sites to be built, how these sites will be managed. The partial non-spots are easier in our point of view because the MNOs are used to exchanging services. You come to my tower, I go to your tower. This is market practice. But when you need to build new sites, of course, with public procurement schemes, etc., it is very important who is managing the site. Of course, from our point of view, we are a neutral host. Neutrality is our main value. We are totally convinced that having someone else managing the sites would make it easier future deployments. Okay. Germany, similar percentages, number of sites, between 4,500 and 6,000. Some RAN sharing schemes already agreed between Vodafone and Deutsche Telekom. And here, no funding. So the rural program is connected with the 5G auction. Ireland, Spain, as I told you before, they are more focused now on broadband, fiber penetration, and even if 5G fixed wireless access, that means radio, is considered as an alternative way for increasing broadband in rural areas, we are speaking about other kind of public investment focused on the fiber. And why are we here? I mean, why is rural coverage so delayed? The motivation is clear. The cost of deploying sites is exactly the same, if not higher, in rural areas. You need a lot of capex for the passive infrastructure, the mast, the tower, the shelter, the fence. You need opex for the land. Maybe renting lands in rural areas is not as expensive as in other areas, but probably maintenance is more expensive because these sites are far away from the big population areas where the operators have their main presence. So it is completely anti-economic for the MNOs to cover these low populated areas. So a combination of public initiatives and collaboration with the MNOs is needed. In our view, and as I told you before, for the ownership of the new sites to be built, there is still space for neutral hosts in the shared rural network in the UK. We think that the combination of the MNOs, the government, and maybe a company like us, which, I mean, we are a net investor, long-term agreements with the MNOs, 25, 30 years, okay? We are innovative, we are commercial. That means we are always trying to looking ahead of what our customers' needs will be. And for example, 5G ecosystem will imply that the sites that we are now deploying for 4G could be modified, could become maybe small data centers or edge computing areas in those areas. So we really think we could have a contribution, and we are open to discussions with the MNOs and UCMS. Another very important thing, which is the code, Warren mentioned it. In the UK, we have a very innovative legislation, and other countries and even the European Union is looking at the electronic code in the UK as a way for helping the MNOs to increase the speed of rollout. But the electronic code is not working as intended. There are long legal disputes among landowners and operators. And in this regard, I would like to present Speed Up Britain, which is a campaign the operators, Mobile UK, MBNL and Cornerstone and Cellnex, have started to call the attention of public authorities about how the electronic code could be modified for reaching the original targets. This is a problem in all countries. We are living experiences for the 5G rollout, and permits are permits, so new 4G sites will have the same problem. Even 18 months for receiving permits in some countries from the authorities. This makes the rollout and the deployment very slow, and reaching the targets for these rural communities is very difficult. Finally, what's the value of neutral host playing a role in this kind of projects? We can go beyond the passive infrastructure. I mean, we could propose, and we are discussing in different countries with the MNOs, programs in which we could even invest on the active equipment, so providing an end-to-end service to the MNO, passive infrastructure, and even the equipment, to more than one MNO, because our vision is always sharing investments. This is difficult for the MNOs to be accepted yet, but sharing towers was also impossible to accept by the MNOs 15 years ago when we started to speak about it. There are things here to be addressed. I mean, of course, both operators working with the same vendor, Ericsson, Nokia, Huawei, whoever simplifies this collaboration. Who is in charge of the radio optimization? Who is in charge of the second level for maintenance? I mean, compared to the classical approach to the network rollout, moving into the value chain from pure passive infrastructure to collaboration about active equipment is something we need to discuss with the MNOs. But we are completely convinced about the value of these initiatives for rural areas. It should reduce the investment a lot. Last, we try to engage with the rural communities. These are two examples of projects involving 5G use cases in Spain in very, very small rural areas. Okay, one of them is based on fixed wireless access as an alternative to fiber in rural areas. The second one is connected with IoT, which is what we call the connected vineyard. This is an area in Soria, in Castile, in Spain. Ribera del Duero, they are producing wine, very well known. And we are deploying there with Nokia and Quobis and other partners 5G use case in which we try to show how important technology is for linking population to geography in these rural areas. That's all on my side. Thank you for the opportunity. Open to your questions. You have here my email. If you have additional questions after the event, happy to be there for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alfonso, and thanks also Warren, who's been busily answering questions in the Q&A box on the side. So if you have got any questions during this next comfort break, please do pop them in. And we're taking a 5-minute comfort break now, so we will see you all back here at 10:06 on my computer. Thank you so much.